That picture you saw at the start of the video, that was me taking a nap. And Betty took that a while ago after we got back from the Pancake Festival. So I think I'll talk about that first. Pancake Festival. It's a tradition in our family, and it started when I was a boy. The Lions Club been putting that Pancake Festival on. I don't know when they started, but I'm pretty sure it was going on in the 1950s. I lived on East 15th Street. Had brothers and sisters. There was 5 of us. We'd walk from East 15th Street 3.5 blocks downtown on the Bedford Square to the west side of the courthouse lawn and eat pancakes first Saturday in May. They call it the Pancake Festival. When I became a dad and had my own children, we went to the Pancake Festival. I don't know, sometime in there they added one in the first Saturday of October and called it the Flapjack Fest. And so now they had 2 of them a year, and our family just got used to that, and we never quit doing it. In fact, nowadays we get them all together and set a time. We all show up from all over the place. They come from this morning far away as almost Ellettsville. And well, Brett and Ryan, they come from Bean Blossom, so they come from the farthest. We met, had pancakes, 22 of us. Cost $160 for breakfast this morning. But love doing that. Love having our family together. They like the pancakes. They like the sausage. So we do that twice a year. Go to Pancake Festival or the Flapjack Fest, and Grandma and Grandpa pay for breakfast for everybody. But I had to get up 8:15 this morning to get straightened away and have a cup of coffee before we went. And so when I got back home, I sat down there in that chair, and before I could even get my hat and coat off, I poured me another cup of coffee, and I sat down there and didn't even get my coffee drank. I fell asleep, and Betty couldn't help herself. She took a picture of me. One last thing about that, you see I got my Yankee cap on, and that's kind of a tradition that I always did on the Flapjack Fest. I wore that Yankee cap because I'd always see one of my friends there. His family had kind of the same tradition ours did. Him and his boys and his wife would show up at to eat pancakes, and he was a Boston Red Sox fan. I like to wear my Yankee cap and rub it into him that we were getting ready to play in the postseason, and the Red Sox weren't. Of course, that didn't always work. Sometimes I had to eat crow too, but he'd wear his Boston cap and I'd wear my Yankee cap. Lee Corbin, he's been dead now a few years, so I don't see him anymore. I see his boys once in a while and see his wife around town sometimes, but not usually at the Pancake Festival. But I wanted to mention Lee, Miss Lee. And one other guy, my neighbor down the road and my friend from auctions and antiques, and we worked together some at General Motors. Phil Mitchell, he passed recently, and he was always the guy over there across from the main row of pancake fixers. He was over there making pancakes on this other station. That's where you could go get your refills. And he did that for years and years. And of course he's gone now too, so he wasn't there today. I don't think he was there in the spring this year. He wasn't dead yet, but I think he was having health problems, wasn't there yet. Lee Corbin, Phil Mitchell. 2 friends, fine men. Support the Lions Club. They do a lot of good work in the community, and they have 2 fundraisers a year. They make good pancakes, and they got the best sausage, best link sausage that they got anywhere. I'll show you a little clip from one of my previous videos. I think it was 2 videos ago when I was getting ready for the Fall Country Neighbors Tour event. And I made a little video I called the Virtual Barn Tour, where you could just look around in my barn and hope you'd see something there that caused you to want to come out to my yard sale the weekend of the Country Neighbors Tour fall event. Opening up the aisles. Got that old grain bin out of there. I'm gonna maybe cut that down and make it into 2 grain bins, or at least I'm going to repaint that thing. This is the first time I've seen it in a year and a half, because it was over there buried in some stuff, and I didn't dig it out the last couple of sales, but it's dug out this time. If it don't sell this weekend, I'm going to revitalize it, turn it into something that looks a little better than that. There's another one of them spool cabinets. That one there's, well, there it was, that old grain bin. I'm going to talk about it for a minute. I had that yard sale, by the way, and pretty successful 2 days. Had a lot of people come out, had a lot of fun, did a lot of good visiting. Sold quite a bit of stuff, got a lot of stuff moved out of my barn, got room to walk around over there and get the place cleaned up a little better and do a little work even. Told somebody, that one of my great grandkids, I said, you can practice your free throws out there now. I got enough stuff out of the way, you could shoot free throws on that basketball goal in there. That grain bin, that was the kind of a thing that, if you know anything about the Hard Times Guy at all, you know I just love old boxes like that. And that particular one, yellow poplar boards, hand planed on both sides, about 1 inch thick. I mean, the kind of stuff that you see from the middle 1800s and that you don't see anymore. Big wide boards that are hand planed. And yellow poplar, I love yellow poplar. And that thing had, I don't know, 3 or 4 coats of different paint history on it. And it confused me for a little while. I couldn't tell how old it was. I thought it was middle 1850s to late 1800s, but it had so daggone many nails that weren't right in it. I thought maybe it was older than that. Maybe they just built it out of old boards, or maybe it wasn't that old. They built it out of old boards. It had lots of modern nails in it. And by modern, I mean they were round shafted nails with round heads. They were rusted into the wood. They'd been in there a long, long time, but they were not old square nails. And it puzzled me about the age of the box. I thought maybe that thing was, more like the turn of the century, late 1800s to early 1900s, when both kinds of nails were available, and they used 2 kinds of nails in it. Then I got to thinking that most of the nails that were not the square nails were in those legs that were on it. Maybe somebody put those legs on it later. It was just a box that sat on the ground, and they made legs for it later and put them on there, and that was after square nails and into round nails, and that's why there's so many nails. I couldn't quite figure it out, but it had all the earmarks of being an old box, and it was made the way and out of the materials that I love. That I just loved that old box. But it was big, and it was really heavy, hard for me to move around, and it had some hideous looking paint on it, and for some reason or another it survived 2 or 3 sales over there. Nobody wanted to buy it. So I decided to alter it a little bit and see if I couldn't make it more presentable to somebody, because I couldn't find anybody that liked it as well as I did, the way it was. So I started taking it apart and thinking about what I could do with it, and going to show you what happened to it. What do you think of that? There it is. You say, well, I see part that. Yeah, that's both of those boxes there. The one that says Blue Moon Farms, that's the main part of the box. It's still got the old dough board sliding back and forth in the top of it. Doesn't have as much room to slide as it used to, but I turned it into a smaller box, much the same as it used to be, and I put a new paint job on it. It doesn't look like a new paint job, but it is. And there's part of that box, and then that other thing sitting there is the rest of the box. I took and, of course, I'd moved the legs over onto that one. Didn't have any legs anymore, so I just used what I had left, and I turned that into a little coffee box. and it doesn't have anything inside it, but it's got a new paint job too. I'm not actually done with either one of them. I've still got some work to do on the fasteners in the coffee box, and on the paint job on both boxes. I'm not quite done, but there's what happened to them. And next time I have a barn sale, those will probably be here, unless I sell them before then. A lot of times people come out here and buy stuff when I'm not having a sale, and I haven't decided yet. I'm kind of leaning against it, but I may get over to the Bologna Days celebration. I think that's the last part of this month. I may get over there and take some stuff to sell too, and if I do, and I got those boxes, they'll go with me. One more thing I want to talk to you about, and then I'm going to wrap this up, I hope. Went to church last night. And no, I don't usually go to church on Friday night. We usually don't have church on Friday night, but we had a special little meeting last night at our church where I go, and Fairview Community Church. They have a website too, and I think all our services are on that website. So if you want to go to church with me, you can find the Fairview Community Church website, and that camera's sitting right over my right shoulder during church. But anyway, I went out there last night, and we had this special thing going on, and it was a special thing. I'll talk to you about it just a little bit. Starts out with Brad and Tammy Burgess and Damon. I can't remember what his last name was, but I think they all go to maybe Crossroads Church, and they have I don't know whether they have a regular group that sings or whether they just spontaneously do that. I know Brad and Tammy go places and sing, so maybe Damon's with them now. I don't know, but and they can sing. Brad, he's got a heck of a voice, and Tammy, she's right in there strong and harmonizing with him, and Damon, he's got a unique and strong voice of his own, and they inspired us. They had a message with their selection of songs, and they delivered that message with the power of God behind it, and thoroughly uplifting and encouraging. And that's how the service started. I don't know, they went on for 20-30 minutes before we ever did anything else with their message and song, and Brad's monologue that went along with that. So appreciated that. And then we had a young man, and I don't know how old he is now. I'm going to guess he's maybe still in his 30s, but he might have passed 40. I'm not sure. But he's our preacher's boy, preacher's youngest boy. And he's got a family of his own now. I said there's a whole bunch of them following him around and running around there. I noticed the little one, about the middle one. He's got really bright red hair. I don't know where he got that from his mother, I guess. But a bunch of fine kids of his own, and they're all running around in there, and the preacher's boy, he's running around in there. And I can't help but hardly see him without thinking about when I first became acquainted with him, when our preacher first came out to Fairview, and this boy was just a boy then. He was probably early teens. I don't think he had a driver's license yet, but he was just a boy, and he'd been homeschooled, hadn't been exposed to a lot of the things in life that kids that go to regular school do, and of course he had good instructions from his parents, and he'd been in church, and but his social skills needed a little honing. And we had another boy there about his age, and this same kind of a situation. I think he's homeschooled too, different family, but those two boys, not too long after they got together, they one night, I don't remember whether it was a Sunday night or it might have been a youth group night, but those two boys uh, got an opportunity to work on their social skills, and they got into some kind of a altercation with one another, and it ended in a knockdown, snot-slinging tussle. Of course, the adults there at the church, they got them separated and got it squared away, and no harm was done. I think both of them went away from it with a little bit more understanding of what it took to get along with one another. I never knew of any problems to exist between them after that. So that's what boys do when they're growing up. It happens to boys and girls. They have to learn how to get along with one another, and they have to learn things about life. And I always remember that about those two boys. I don't know where the other boy, I haven't seen him in a few years, but he was from a fine family. I see his mom and dad once in a while at an auction, and I'm sure that boy's somewhere living a good life. And if he's got a family, he's a good dad just like this one. I've got all the confidence in the world that he's somewhere doing God's work and being a good citizen, because I know his family, I know his background. But this boy, the preacher's boy, he grew up, he became a preacher himself. And I'd heard him speak before, but I'm going to tell you, last night, he liked to blow the windows out of our church. He was on fire last night. And he had a good message for us. And it's a good message. It's a good message for me. And it'd be a good message for anybody in today's times, because he used the story of Ruth. We were in the book of Ruth. Of course, we went to other scriptures too while he was talking to us. But basically, he used the outline of the story of Ruth, her mother-in-law Naomi, and their family, and how they'd moved, and then how the world just came down around their ears, and everything in life was all of a sudden upside down and difficult, and the world around them was like going to hell in a handbasket. Those weren't his words. He didn't use that terminology. That's mine. But things were really, really difficult, and things looked like there wasn't a whole lot of hope. And his message was, there is hope, folks. And I'm going to leave trying to share that with you. I'm not going to preach his whole sermon over again, but I'm going to summarize it for you like this. God is still on the throne. The answers for us that have to live in this difficult world are still in God's Word, and our hope is still in Jesus Christ. And I can't say that as well as he said it. I can't, maybe I could bring you the scriptures that he brought you, but I encourage you to look at them yourself. Go to Ruth's just, I think, 4 chapters. Go read that book. Look at the situation that those women found themselves in, and look what God did through that young woman being obedient to God and being disciplined in her life and doing the right thing and making a commitment and sticking to it. And learn something about life. Learn something about how we should be. Learn something about what our path should be in life, and look at a good example there, and be encouraged by the fact that our God is big. He is big. He has all this nonsense that man has created, and all the turmoil and all the division and all the bickering and maliciousness and hatred that we have to deal with every day and everything we do and everywhere we go. God's bigger than that, and He's got a plan that's better than that. And Jesus is our hope. I want to leave you with that. I'm a hard time Sky. You have a good day.